What, dude? What? I've never heard of this tip before. Holy shit.
One of the most underrated uses of sidechaining is...
Oh, I've never heard of this before. My mind is fucking blown right now. We have Ed Talenti with 47 music production tips you probably never heard of before. I'm assuming we've probably heard of them before. All right, let's see here. Is this gonna be stuff you've heard of before or not?
Did you know that if you recorded a clip of complete silence, then put it into a sampler, slice a tiny piece of it, add a ton of gain and reverb, you literally made a synth out of nothing. I have 46 more music production tips in this.
Okay, I know why I've never heard that music production tip before. It's because it's fucking terrible. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to record just noise, turn it up, and then make a synth out of that when I have the wonderful world of fucking Serum and Vital and all types of other shit?
Video, and I'm positive there's gonna be at least a few that you've never heard of. Let's go. To make your MIDI piano sound more realistic, don't play all the notes exactly.
Oh, he's sick too, dude. That's crazy. Maybe I got it from him.
At the same time. Slightly offset the timing of each note, especially in chords, and also increase the velocity on the lower and the...
Oh, I've never heard of this before. What, dude? You mean to make it sound more natural, I can like move the notes around a little bit, dude?
Bass notes
Holy
to
shit.
emulate the natural dynamics of a real pianist. Incorporating Foley, like random voices, footsteps, or even the sound of clinking glasses in a bar, can instantly give your melodies and your beats a unique texture. Foley sounds and ambience can
My mind is fucking blown right now.
make your music sound a lot more natural, and can add an unexpected human element that just gives more character to
I mean, I guess I've never really heard this tip before, but it's like pretty common.
the sounds. By the way, these tips are very useful, but if you want more in-depth music education in a collaborative environment and for really cheap, literally this week I launched my brand new music
Bro, this is not a good advertisement for your better music course. Like, it's like, check out these tips you've never heard of before. Oh wait, I've heard of all of these. Oh.
academy called Better Music. We started accepting students not even a week ago, and we already have a ton of people in there learning, collaborating, getting feedback directly from me, and building
Imagine you see Busy in there.
friendships connected by our shared love for music and music production. Here's what
Bro, I'm gonna drink this coffee.
some of them have said so far. If you want to know more about it, scan the
Oh, that tastes really funny. I don't know, dude. Never
QR
mind.
code right here, or click the link at the top of the description. We're only accepting students for a few more days right now, so don't sit on it for too long. And if you're watching this in the future, you can click
I regret that, dude. I regret drinking
the
that.
same link and sign up for the waitlist so you can be the first one to be notified when we have more slots open up. What's the next tip? If your 808s aren't hitting as hard as you want, it could be because they're
Use FL Studio 11. That's what you gotta do. You gotta use FL Studio 11.
not in the right key. Every 808 sample resonates the best in a specific range of notes, so try shifting the key of your 808 up and down until you find that sweet spots where it's loud, present, and boomy. One of the best ways to learn how to arrange your tracks is
That was a somatics type beat sample demo.
around an acapella
Day old coffee. Nah, it was like 12 hours old, but yeah, it was gross.
of a song that kind of sounds similar to the one that you're making. Download the acapella and shape your beat around the vocals, focusing on where the transitions, the drops, and the builds
I'm not 100% sure, Honda.
naturally fall. Once you're happy with the arrangement, just remove the acapella and you have a pretty solid structure to get started.
Okay, yeah, no, I actually agree with this, but I don't think this is like, I don't know, I feel like this is a pretty, I would say it's a common tip, but it's not uncommon.
If your 808 or bass sounds are not cutting through on small speakers like phones, try adding a little bit of saturation. This introduces harmonic content
What, dude? What? I've never heard of this tip before. Holy shit.
in sort of the mid-high range, which is exactly where smaller speakers can play the best.
This guy's a fucking genius.
So adding a little bit of saturation to your bass sounds can help the low end come through even on small phone speakers. If your mix is not sounding as loud as you would like it to, the answer is almost never to turn up the volume. Instead, try using EQ to remove frequencies that don't need to be there. By carving out unnecessary low end or muddy mid range, you can actually free up space for the instruments to be perceived as louder.
Okay, that's actually, yeah, that's true. Perceived as louder is that's key there. You won't make it louder, but it will allow you to make things sound louder, or they'll cut through the mix better.
If your chord progressions are feeling a little bit stale, a quick way to spice them up is to invert the chords. Take one or two notes from the chords that you have and move them an octave up or an octave down. By the way, right now I'm working in Ableton, but all these tips are universal, doesn't matter if you're in FL, Logic, Pro Tools, or whatever else. If you're struggling to make impactful drum fills and transitions, try experimenting with slower triplets, like a quarter note or 8-note triplet. This creates sort of a slowdown effect that can help you build tension before a drop.
That's a good tip, but this this demo here that did not hit very hard. That was like, this is like a paper thin drop right here.
If you're just starting out and you're not happy with how your tracks are sounding, the answer is not to buy new plugins. Wait. Focus on mastering the basics with the stock plugins that you already have built into your DAW, and once you've learned and kind of mastered the fundamentals, then you'll really know what's missing, and that's when you can actually upgrade and invest some money. If you're a beginner, I'm sorry to tell you this, but expensive plugins are not gonna make your music good.
Unless it's Infiltrator. Am I right, guys? Am I right?
You just have to practice a little bit more. One of the quickest ways to design sounds that are more interesting is layering. Take two different sounds, whether it's two synths or two drum hits, stack them together, and process them with a few effects. Layering lets you combine the quality of each of the sounds, creating something that's fuller and a lot more unique sound than just a single sound.
Yeah, I need to do that more often.
Always save your presets. Every time you stumble on a cool sound, a chord progression,
like overall, these are good tips, but I would not classify them as something you've probably never heard of before.
effect chain, immediately save it as a preset. This will save you from having to recreate it again later, and also, if you don't save it, chances are you're just gonna forget.
Is he targeting kids? Dude, that's an insane way to word that. I don't know, you probably shouldn't word it that way.
Forget it. Over time, you'll build a library of go-to effect chains and sounds that can help you go a lot faster and just kind of get your ideas down in a much better way. When it comes to drops, you don't always have to add more sounds during the drop. If you want your drop to feel massive and epic, then yes, add more layers to create like a wall of sound. But if you're going for that like dirty stank face type of drop, chances
You need FL Studio 11.
are you might want to actually remove elements instead of adding more. Moving sounds creates space and allows the drums and the bass to really hit you way harder. If you're struggling to come up with catchy lead melodies, try using your voice instead of your DAW. Sing or hum the melody that you have in mind, and then reproduce it with an instrument. Using your voice ensures that the melody is singable, making it more likely to actually stick with the listener. To add variation to your bass lines without making them overly complex, try using octaves and fifths. The octave is 12 semitones up, and the fifth is 7 semitones up. And then a quick trick to make your bass line sound more fluid and connected is to use walk-ups or walk-downs. A fun way to spice up your tracks is to create an environment with reverb and then completely switch
I never used that plugin. I've never seen that one.
it up. This is going to give the listener like a wake-up call while they're
Maybe I need new plugins.
listening because they got used to hearing the sound in a certain set, in a certain environment, and then you switch it on them and it feels completely different. So use a certain reverb on a certain section, but then switch it up completely for another section, or maybe just for one of the elements. This
Yeah, I know I've never heard this tip before. It's because it's fucking garbage.
is something that I do every time I'm feeling uninspired. Just get your phone, record a random sound, like literally anything, then import it into your DAW and force yourself to use effects, stretch it, pitch it up and down as much as you can. Just really completely destroy the sound. To make your melodies sound fuller and more dynamic, a really quick trick is to add one or two instruments playing the root note a couple octaves above the rest of the melody. This instantly adds size and fills up your melody and just makes it pop out of the mix
Swear to God, he's just throwing anything at the board and see what sticks.
way better. This is a really important one. There are no rules in music production. Always remember, no matter what anyone tells you, that there are no rules to what you do. There's just common practice. People call rules things that we tend to do often, but they're not actually rules. It's just what we tend to do often. If something sounds good to you and it's breaking one of these rules, then it's completely right. For a quick and effective way to create contrast between the intro and the drop, adjust the panning and stereo
I'm surprised he didn't say something like add more sounds to the drop or less sounds to the drop.
width of the track. For example, you can make the intro feel wide and expansive to give sort of like a big ambience vibe, and then tighten the stereo field for your drop to make it feel punchy and really in your face.
I'm not sure I like that. Do you guys like that? Like how it went from like super wide just to like super narrow in the drop? Like it just kind of, I don't know, it just sounds like mono. I don't like it.
If you find yourself adding the same elements to every single one of your projects, maybe it's...
Yeah, I think he really overdid it there. Like, I think it's a decent idea. Like, for instance, if he rolled it, if instead of going to 0, he went to 100, and then maybe it was at 200 before that, I think it would work.
If you find yourself adding the same elements to every single one of your projects, maybe it's a specific effect, or maybe it's like EQs on all your tracks, add them to your default DAW template. This saves you time and keeps your workflow consistent, so you can stay focused on what you're actually trying to do instead of setting up the session every single time. And another...
Yeah, I think he made the drop mono. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, I just don't really see why you would make it straight up mono.
Really underrated workflow tip is to learn your shortcuts. It's not just about going faster, because who cares? You can go slow, it's not a problem. It's more about...
How was this? Okay, there's no way you could file this under tips you've probably never heard before. Learn your shortcuts? Really? Learn your shortcuts.
Not interrupting your creative process. The last thing you want to do when you're focused on your track and it's kind of starting to come together is having to stop to go on Google to search how to split a track into in Ableton because you don't remember the combination. That's the quickest way to completely lose it.
Wait.
Combination. Don't sit on a project for too long. Try to get your track to a finished stage, even if it's not 100%, as quickly as you can, in like 1 or 2 sessions.
Yeah, this is me.
This is because the more you sit on it, the further away you're going to get from the original spark of inspiration, from the original idea. When you work,
I got like a million unfinished things.
Quickly you can capture the idea that you had exactly the way you wanted it, with the right energy and the right feel, and then slowly over time, you can actually like perfect it. But at least get the idea and the structure down as fast as possible. Try blending field recordings of natural elements like water, wind, grass, scraping. Try layering those to synth electronic sounds. Combining natural, like warm sounds to like these...
I didn't hear anything. Was that it?
Very digital sounding things can create this really unique texture that just sounds really grounded, but also really futuristic. I don't know. It's really cool.
Okay, there we go. Hey.
Weaverbeats and shit.
Thank you for the $2.60 super chat, Victoria. Appreciate that.
Be afraid to steal chord progressions or drum patterns. It's perfectly okay to borrow a chord progression from one of your favorite songs and use it as a starting point for inspiration. But
confession? Is this a confession?
Using elements from something that you love, you're going to end up creating something fresh and unique. In fact, many iconic, legendary tracks throughout history were built exactly this way, by building upon something that artists loved. When you're building a melody or a bass line, instead of letting each note fill up the entire gap up to the next note, be very specific and deliberate with how long these notes last. Changing note lengths can drastically change the vibe of your groove, making it feel tighter or looser, and instantly adding more rhythm and groove to your music.
Why does he look like he's on coke? Yeah, Ed, why are you looking like you're on coke?
When you've got multiple layers or instruments that serve the same purpose, like all your drums or a stack of synths, group them together into a bus track and apply your effects to the entire group. The secret to a good mix doesn't start...
Well, he said he's sick. He said he's sick, and I believe it because I'm sick too.
...with EQ, compression, or anything like that. It's all about sound selection. If your samples and instruments already fit nicely with each other and are high quality sounds, the track is going to sound basically done.
Yeah, pretty much everything he's saying is correct. It's just not stuff that you've probably never heard before.
Even without doing anything. A vocoder is one of the fastest ways to turn a boring vocal sound into something really cool and unique. Vocoder is one of the fastest ways to turn a boring vocal sound into something really cool. There's a lot that you can do with this, but it's a really...
Daft Punk should try this out. I think Daft Punk should try this.
...quick way to create some unique sounds. We all know that reversing a melody makes it sound cooler. But there's something I like to do even more. Take your melody sample and try slicing it up at key points. For example, when the chords are changing or in certain parts of the melody. Then take all those little chops, those smaller sections, and reverse them one by one, but keeping them in the same order. This way you're going to maintain the original flow and sort of structure of the original melody, but you're going to add the cool, unique sound of reversing it with a really different twist.
Okay, this example fucking sucks, dude. I did not try at all on this one.
If your chords
dude, that example is so bad, dude.
are starting to feel flat or static, an LFO is the quickest way to get them to sound interesting again. A great tool for this is Shaperbox, where you can basically add LFO for a bunch of different parameters.
Bro, one of the other tips was to not buy plugins. Wait, which one do I follow? Do I follow tip number 37 or tip 12?
Volume, filter, panning. Just draw some random curves, run them through your sound, and try to find some unique, cool pattern.
I mean, I understand why you would have like not the greatest examples in here because, you know, it's 47 music production tips and like he's showcasing most of them. So, you know, he's probably just throwing together loops and just rushing it.
One of the simplest but most effective ways to sound this.
Okay, that was a really shitty example. What was that? Like doing it on the drive? Running an LFO on the drive? I'm not saying that tip can't be good. I'm just saying that example was not great.
Take any piece of audio, it could literally be anything, even random noise, put it into a sampler and chop it down to like a really small little sliver of sound. Just a few milliseconds. Now you have this brand new sound that you can play as an instrument, build chords, melodies, wherever you want, and you can adjust the little brackets on the sampler to completely change your sound. It's a really fun way to experiment with sound design. If your melody is sounding a little bit disconnected or too big,
I mean, that's not a bad tip.
basic, try bouncing it onto a new track. Then slice up each individual chord, reverse some of the chops, and place them in between your original MIDI chords to kind of fill the gaps. This creates an interesting texture that glues the melody together and fills the empty space in a creative way, adding a smoother, more connected feel to all your melodies. Instead of just playing chords or one instrument, let's say the
that one's kind of a little nonsensical.
piano, split them up into different instruments. This way the chords are going to sound a lot more interesting because they're divided with different timbres and they're
I mean, that one was pretty good. Like it sounded, the demo was okay and it's a decent tip.
not just one single sound. If you want to take this tip to the next level, you can also go in each of the instruments and turn those little single note lines into more complex melodies.
It really does feel like an oversampled video. That's true. Where did he go? Is he still alive?
If you're struggling to create the right
Bro, these tips are going so fast. I don't even know what the hell that one was.
swing for your drums, take a track from one of your favorite producers that really has that groove down and import it into your DAW. Then literally look at the audio wave and line up your kicks and snares and hi-hats with theirs.
Oh my god.
And this is going to help you really understand how they place their sounds off the grid. And then from there, you can obviously tweak it and make it your own.
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing this, I guess, but it's just funny to like take their track and then just copy it for your drums. I mean, I can understand maybe like learning and then being like, oh, I'm gonna apply that next time. But like to keep it in there, to copy it, that's crazy.
But this gives you a really good starting point to get the swing right. If you want to create a wider, bigger sound when it comes to your synths and your leads, try detuning them a little bit up and down with each other, and then maybe even add a little stereo effect or a chord.
What the fuck? He's so phoning it in, dude. He's so phoning it. Wait, what the hell? Wait, what is this one?
If you want to create a wider, bigger sound when it comes to your synths and your leads, try detuning them a little bit up and down with each other, and then maybe even add a little stereo effect or a chorus. This is going to create a much richer, much bigger sound.
Bro. So just the thing that's in synths already. So just like unison. Sounds like shit, dude. That sounds like shit. What are you thinking, dude? What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Wait, hold on.
Your sound when it...
Did he mix them up or something? Yeah, sounds good. Oh no. Oh no.
Adding ghost notes to...
Dude, what the hell, dude?
Ghost notes are just softer hits placed in between your main kick and snares. And they're going to create a more complex, more dynamic, and more human sounding drum groove. It's a great way to take a very simple beat and make it swing. When applying reverb, especially to instruments like vocals or synths, add a high pass filter to your reverb to remove the lower frequencies. This prevents the low end from getting too muddy with the reverb, ensuring that your kick and...
He's so phoning these in, dude. Why did he pick 47? Why is there 47? Like, it just feels forced at this point.
Your bass still comes through nice and clear. The most common use for side
What the hell is that?
chain compression is on the bass and the kick drum. But one of the most underrated uses of sidechaining is actually on melodies. Something that I really like to do when I want to create a really wavy, almost like old school beat, is to take all of my instruments, all of my percussions, basically the entire beat except for kick drum and bass, and sidechain the whole beat to the kick drum.
I mean, it's not a bad tip, but I don't know.
Your mix is feeling a little bit empty or lacks energy, adding white noise at the bottom can fix that. Just add a low-level white noise layer, either constant or pulsing, to instantly give your track a better atmosphere and energy without having to clutter up the main elements by adding more sounds. You can also automate the white noise level to make it rise and fall during build-ups or breakdowns or drops, just to keep adding movement. I was surprised to learn,
Bro, just throwing anything at the wall. Just throwing anything at the wall.
how many producers don't actually already do this. Whenever you make a melody, any kind of loop, or
At this point, like, you can just throw anything in here as a tip. Like, hey, like, okay, instead of having a kick with your beat, try having no kick with your beat. Next tip, instead of having a snare with your beat, maybe try a clap instead.
even like a drum pattern, you should 100% resample it. Chop it up, reverse it, repitch it, stretch it out, add effects. Use your creativity to really push the boundaries of the original melody that you made. Tune your percussions. Just like with melodic instruments, percussive elements that are higher in pitch, like toms or congas or things like that, they also have their own pitch, and it needs to match the one of your beat. To make your bass lines sound more
These are going by so fast.
powerful, try duplicating the track an octave higher. So basically just have the two layers going at a time, the regular one and an octave higher, and adjust the volume of each so that you're adding a nice cool texture without destroying your low end. So if you take any short sample like a vocal chop or a percussion hit, literally anything, stretch it out as much as you can, like too much, then drench it in reverb and drench it in delay, and you will have created a brand new pad sound with a completely
That's not a good pad sound.
unique approach and a unique texture and sound.
You gotta be fucking with me. That sounds terrible, dude. That sounds absolutely fucking terrible. How is this a tip? I like how there's like this dope ass respace and make it be like, oh, it doesn't sound that bad, right? It doesn't sound that bad.
If you're getting kind of bored of your usual drum sounds, try recording everyday items. Keys, tables, pens,
I swear to God, he's done this fucking tip already. Like the Foley shit.
a door closing, literally anything. Just record a bunch of everyday sounds and experiment with layering them. Especially if you take some of these sounds and layer them on normal drums, like a regular
Okay, yeah, this is good. This is a good tip.
snare drum, you're going to have this really cool, unique, textured sound that can't really be replicated by any other producer or any other stock sound that you find.
Okay, he's got a good point there. I feel like he offset it too much, but...
Really underrated technique. Once you've built a complex effect
Okay, what is tip number one?
chain for one of your sounds, resample the output of just the effects, and then from there you can chop it up, reverse it, manipulate the sound even further, and you can get some of the most interesting sounds, most creative textured sounds by doing this technique.
Interesting.
If you want more in-depth
Not really the best example, but that was interesting. I mean, I could see that one actually being useful. Yeah, I don't know. The video was okay. Definitely would have got a lot less shit if 47 music production tips you've probably never heard of before. Like, I feel like that was kind of the part that's like